caring, empathetic environment where we believe in each other, respect diversity, communicate openly, grow together, and hold each other to high expectations, become the leaders and innovators of the future.
Our next item is recognitions. Kate?
All right, tonight we're excited to showcase some of our high rollers on the boys and girls bowling team. So it's exciting to see both teams doing so well. So we're going to start with boys. So if we could have both John Laswell and Sebastian Krupa and Coach Mike Chappelle come to the front. All right, so overall, our boys bowling team went 17-3 this year with a steady and consistent play from both of these student athletes. John, we'll talk about first, surged at sectionals to finish third out of more than 100 bowlers. Only the top 4 bowlers at sectionals go to state, and John is the first boys bowler in 4 years to go to state, so that's awesome. And then let's talk about Sebastian. Sebastian surged at regionals, bowling a perfect game and taking home the first place medal. He's only the third boys bowler to score a perfect game in school history. The last one was bowled in 2009. So Coach Mike Chappelle is going to talk a little bit more about both of these gentlemen.
Do we have videos of that?
They actually do have a video this week.
I'd love to have it.
We live streamed for the first time, and I have it in my slideshow that I'm going to show tomorrow at the awards night. So I can probably send you guys the slideshow or the clip.
Sorry, but thank you.
No, gotcha. So I'm going to read a little. Well, first I'm going to put on my glasses. So I'd like to thank John and Sebastian's family. I'd like to thank Umar for coming. I didn't know he was going to be here. The support from them has been undeniable. I have 6, so this is actually going to kind of go into my spiel on the team. I have 6 bowlers, 7 seniors that are all graduating this year, and they all came in together, and the parents are at everything. I mean, we would get to a bowling alley, and 2 or 3 of the parents would already be there. So the parent support was absolutely fabulous. I'd like to thank our superintendent, Dr. Benson, our principal, Kate Ward, athletic director, Pedro Rodriguez, assistant athletic director, Mark Cross, and our awesome athletic administrative assistant, Lori Sweden, which if you guys don't know, she's retiring in a month-ish. I would also like to thank Wooddale Bowl and Mike Malone. We hosted a sectional, and it was kind of last minute, and he just took it right on. He had to reschedule a couple of events, so they were absolutely phenomenal. Some bowling programs don't get that from their home lanes, and we had complete support. And then obviously, last but not least, I'd like to thank the board for having us here. Okay, so I'm here to celebrate 2 of my 6 bowlers. But I'd love to talk about just their achievements. Ms. Ward spoke about it a little bit. All 6 of our starters. Logan Krajecki is a senior. Sebastian Krupa is a senior. Umar Ahmed is a senior. John Laswell is a senior. Ethan Lopez is a senior. And Christian Ramirez. Those are my 6 starters. They've been together since freshman year. They spent countless hours together and put everything they could into the sport of bowling. They finished their senior season with 17-3. Our only loss was to Glenbard Co-op. They get to draw from a couple of schools of about 4,000 kids. And we had them at Wooddale Bowl, and we lost 2,992 to 2,995. We have any bowlers in the house, which we do. Every pin counts. So with 1,000 pins, we lost by, well, we had tied them with 3 pins. So we finished 2nd in conference. They finished 3rd as sophomores. So all 6 of those seniors that I named started from mid-sophomore year on. They finished 3rd in the conference their sophomore year, 3rd in the conference their junior year, and then 2nd in the conference their senior year. We have 11 academic all-conference bowlers, some kids being multiples. We have 7 academics, 11, 7 all-conference bowlers. We have 7 individual sectional qualifications. We have 1 team sectional qualification. We have a winner of the Glenbard Strike Fest. So out of 100, actually the Glenbard was 96 bowlers. A lot of sports still have different genres. Golf, if you take first at golf, that means you took first against the whole field, and in bowling. So 96 bowlers, Sebastian took first place, and I'll read the score when we get to him. And then Sebastian also won the regional, so he took first place out of 105 bowlers. And those were back-to-back invites. So he had 2 invites in which he was the #1 of 100 varsity bowlers in a pretty good bowling area. We had 1 perfect game, and then we had 1 state qualifier. So I'm going to talk about both of them, and then Mr. Campick is going to figure out the picture order from there. So John Laswell, John's a 3X varsity starter, a 3-time varsity starter, a 2-time academic all-conference, 2-time sectional qualifier, 1-time all-conference. John just found that out right now. He would have found out tomorrow at the awards night, but 1-time state qualifier. John took 3rd place overall. Once again, out of in the sectional there was 114, and he took 3rd out of that 114. So not only did he qualify at large, but he got a medal for being one of the top medalists, rolling a 1335.
Oh,
Not saying
wow.
that John never rolled well, but John beat, in the most high-pressure situation, John bested his best 6-game series by over 150 pins. He absolutely killed it. It was awesome. And we got to get down to O'Fallon, Illinois again. Last time we went there was 4.5 years ago. Sebastian Krupa. Sebastian is a 4-time varsity starter, 4-year varsity starter, 3-time academic all-conference, 3-time all-conference bowler. Sebastian, I'm sure he knew that he was all-conference this year, but he just found out officially. A 3-time sectional qualifier, a 1-time Glenbard West Invitational champion, rolling a 1376, and a 1X regional champion, rolling a 1441. So there are 6 sectionals in the state. There's 18 regionals, so there's about 1,800 bowlers that try to qualify for the state, and on that day, Sebastian's was the 3rd highest out of 1,800 in the state. So his 1441 was only bested by the regional champ from O'Fallon, I think, and one other. I know I'm long-winded, I'm taking more time than you guys are like. And then obviously Sebastian is, and he's been talking about it for about 3 years. Sebastian's kind of a prodigy. He's got a beautiful swing since the time I met him, and he was a 300, 300, 300, 300, and then he finally got it at the regional opening game. He rolled a 300, which was very cool, and then that's what led him to the 1441. Thank you guys for recognizing these outstanding student athletes, which is what I want to emphasize again. You know, we have, when we there was their sophomore year, I had 6 starters, and 5 of them were all academic all-conference. So fabulous job by these 2 and the rest of the team. Now we're going to get coached up on pictures, right?
Picture. Come on back here, guys.
No, I think we're coming for
So I'm going up with Sebastian and then John.
Stand in the middle. Good job, sir.
Yes.
Never.
Nice to see you. Great job.
No, I want to be by the 300 guys.
Yeah, I'm gonna rub off on you.
You got to step up a little farther.
That was a good, that's a great picture.
You're missing somewhat,
See that
right?
picture?
That little.
It's like perfect form.
John, you not joining us?
He's going to do the next one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just saw someone was David.
You got to keep us side.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you do that? Thank you.
All good.
All right.
Thank you.
Go,
One
Sebastian.
more. Go, we got one more.
Rotate.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Come on up, come on up.
All right. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you. Great job, folks. Thank you.
All right, great. Now we'll move on to girls bowling. So I'd like to welcome up Denise Astudillo and Coach Tara Chavez. All right. Denise earned second place in the chair division of last weekend's IHSA Girls Bowling State Finals. She rolled her personal best game of 163 to move into and hold on to second place. In fact, every game that Denise played at state was above her yearly average. Denise is only in her first year of her bowling career, but the impact she's had on the team has been very impressive. She's driven to become better with each practice. She makes her teammates better around her, and she has a positive mindset even when she doesn't meet her own expectations, which are always very high. There's not much more her coaches could ask for. Head coach Janik couldn't be here, but he said that he also has Denise in chemistry class, and he's thrilled by the motivation and attention to detail she demonstrates in the classroom as well as at the bowling alley. She is the total package, is what Coach Janik said. I'm going to turn it over to Coach Chavez.
First, I'd like to thank everyone for taking the time to acknowledge such an incredible athlete here. I'd like to thank our administration, obviously you, the board, and Mike Malone from Wooddale Bowl. So Denise joined Fenton's girls bowling team back in November. She came in with virtually no experience, but always with a great attitude. She started the season bowling games kind of in the 80 to 90 pin range. By mid-season, maybe averaged no more than 100 pins per game, but her determination never wavered. Bowling was new to her, and there were many moments that, were quite challenging. But Denise never caved in. She never complained, only about the music maybe playing at the bowling alley, but she never ever quit, which is why it was no surprise that she qualified for the IHSA Girls Bowling State Finals. Anyone can be taught how to bowl well over time, but Denise possesses skills that can't be taught. Skills such as grit, bravery, and intuition. I don't think anyone understands the amount of bravery that it takes for a chair bowler to approach the lanes while being surrounded by more experienced bowlers whipping their ball down the lane. It can be quite intimidating. Denise persevered and quickly developed skills that set her apart. For example, she would ask me, Coach, how many boards should I move, to pick up this pivotal spare? And I would tell her, just do 3 to the left. She'd make a face and she'd be like, what about 2? And I said, go with your gut, trust your gut. And so she released the ball to pick up that spare, and it was perfect. It was a perfect pickup. That's the type of instincts that she developed over the course of such a short season. During the state finals this past Saturday, Denise arrived at the bowling alley ready to conquer, and she brought her A game. Something just clicked. She bowled her personal best, outperforming herself after every single game of the series. Although we were away at Rockford, Denise made sure they knew this was her house. And she wasn't going to play, which is why it was no surprise that she placed second individually overall, beating out experienced junior and senior bowlers. She's only a sophomore. To say we are proud is an understatement. On behalf of Coach Janik and me, coaching Denise has been an absolute blast. Watching her metamorphose into this stellar athlete. If this season has taught us anything, it's that we cannot wait to see what happens next, because it's going to be incredible. Congratulations, Denise. You deserve this recognition and so much more.
Karen, do we have any public comments tonight?
No, we do not.
Our next item is informational items. Sam?
Okay, so we have a few items here, as you can see this evening. And to kick it off, we're going to start out with sort of a superintendent transition update. And to start that off, we have HYA here. We have Carrie and Lynn Burks here this evening, who you may remember, we've seen them in prior months. Here they come.
Carrie
Great to see them.
Federaro and
Yeah,
Lynn Burks.
Dr. Carrie Federaro, Dr. Lynn Burks. But anyway, obviously we're in the sort of still the beginning stages of the transition, but they're going to talk to the board about that, and I have a few real quick updates after that.
All right.
Carrie?
Well, thank you. Good to see all of you again. Plus one, welcome, and thank you for volunteering your time, talents, and skills to the board here at Fenton. I think we told you once, or I did, live when and use this this type of language that, you know, we're in a relationship with you, and we appreciate your support in going with us to help secure your next leader. But you won't be able to get rid of us. We stick like gum at the bottom of your shoe. And so if you call us up tomorrow, we're happy to be here. If you call us up in 3 years and 5 years, we're happy to support Fenton. HY builds our business on service to our client, and we value that relationship. You're right. You're 4 months out from a new leader, Dr. Klein, and we know he's excited and honored to be your next superintendent. And we're here to make sure things get off on the right foot. And we're here to say, we want to support you in a transition, and we are happy to detail out a plan to help you as the board and to help your incoming superintendent to set everybody up for success. We provided with you our Cadillac version of transition plans to give you an idea what we can do for you in support. But we're ready to help you today, immediately, with your transition. And it could be both informal and formal. And I'm going to turn it over to Lynn, and she'll talk a little bit about what we share with you in your packet. But that's not an official proposal. That's to give you an idea of the realm of services that we can provide.
Yeah, we didn't actually hand that packet out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll read it to you.
Yeah. No, we won't. So if you're interested, we have a executive transition proposal that builds on research from AGB, the Harvard Graduate School of Education, from AASA, and from SHRM. So it's a 5-phase process. Transitions are really important. You've been through a lot as a board, as a community, and I think this transition in particular is really important to make sure that you start your new chapter here at Fenton. There's a cadence that comes with transition as well that we believe is important. There's a timeline that respects the current leadership and then ensures that there's enough support for that new leadership. And so you'll see also there are intentional checkpoints in that transition period. That includes the chair, the president of the board, and the new leader. And you'll see that, by 6 months, you kind of transition from new leader to, kind of an experienced leader. So as Carrie talked about, this is formal, it's the Cadillac. You have new board members, you're starting a new relationship with the new leader. That governance structure is really important. So, the plan that we did put forth just includes all of those elements. So, take a look at it. You can also take certain modules that you feel you may need, and or you can add to it as well. But Carrie and I transitions are really important. They need to be purposeful and intentional. And you have a superintendent right now as well. So you need to make sure that those transitions are appropriate and the cadence of those transitions are appropriate. And this is from years and years of executive transitions.
And if you'd like us to start supporting you and Dr. Klein immediately, our recommendation is for a meeting between us, your President Lewis and Dr. Klein, to start detailing out the first several steps, and then assess what's needed moving forward. But we would suggest to have that meeting between the four of us to get us off on a good start right now.
That sounds like a good plan, sir. Any other questions, comments from the rest?
I have a comment. I'd like to see a situation in which Dr. Klein has some real meaningful autonomy in contributing his leadership to our school district, and to some extent distancing from HYA, so that his vision is the priority and not those from outside stakeholders who are not members of this community and have no stake in this community.
July the 1st is completely rest on his shoulders. That'll be his time to shine.
And I think his time to shine, I think, can begin now. And I think it should be Dr. Klein, whose leadership represents the transition plan, not HYA.
What HYA has presented has been at the request of the board. What HYA has presented as is because that's what we hired them to provide.
So really, this is just managing the transition, talking about...
there's no input on our side.
talking
No,
about
absolutely not.
Best practices.
Absolutely.
This-
From Harvard Graduate School, from
This is-
four reputable sources.
Okay, so this is-
We
this
have
is-
no input in this. We just facilitate the process. It's your process.
So this is nothing new, and this is all part of what we already hired you for. So this is a continuation of what we've already... I mean, if it's just simply managing and providing a conduit or maybe an outline, I mean, this is new for a lot of us. I don't personally have a problem with it. I mean, I personally read Jason's plan. I understand his vision for moving forward. It just smooths out the transition at this period in time, as none of us have ever been through it. I certainly don't think it hurts if all it is more of a manager's role. It's not an input role. I get what the doctor's saying on one hand, but I also know somebody kind of has to lay the not ground rules, but have to best practices and help the transition more smoothly. I mean, this is, from my world, a transition of a fire chief is 6 weeks. A transition of a superintendent is 6 months. And this just blows my mind from my past life. And I understand the reasoning why with transition. I'm personally comfortable with it as long as it's more of an advisement type of a role and not an input role. I get both sides of this argument, I truly do.
It was born out of, like you said, we've never been through this process. We have a sitting superintendent that did a great job filling in for us, and we have a new superintendent coming in that isn't current a superintendent. So we have new superintendents all around. We just want to be more familiar with the process and what that should look like. So guidance from them is just on the process and the transition. As far as a plan forward, that's a different subject matter.
Please be cautious making assumptions about the entire board. I have been through this process before, thank you.
I said, that's what it was born out of. Thank you. And just to clarify.
Yeah, sure. So
John.
John or me?
Yeah, just clarify. And I thought it was just to help us through this.
No,
that's all it was.
It's new to me, and you know, Sam's transition was under very trying times, and it was totally different than Jason's transition is going to be. And I personally, I'm comfortable with it. I do understand where the doctor's coming from. I understand where you're coming from. If this is going to smooth it out, make it easy and flow, and I don't have a problem with it. I want to give everybody the best chance to do their job and settle in, and you know.
Reed, Nikita,
Yeah.
You know, anybody else? Anything else you'd like to
Sam,
chime in?
what's your input, sir?
Yeah. Well, my input is, I appreciate HYA being out here tonight, obviously. As any task that I'm assigned, I researched it. I talked to Carrie personally on how do we get this started? What are some informal things to do? And so I can rest assured that Jason Klein is doing his due diligence as he's preparing for the position. We're in this informal time frame, and so therefore that's a good thing because he's had the opportunity to attend many events, talk to people very informally, not as in any sort of authority position, but trying to get to know the culture, trying to get to know people. He and I have also had conversations, again, informally, and getting to know each other and starting to, here's some things to be thinking about. So as far as that goes, you're right. This transition process, it's a pretty long time, but what ends up happening is all of a sudden it's March and all of a sudden it's April and the like. So I can assure the board that there's thought put onto this from both of us, and we're getting along very well. And I think as we get closer, there'll be more formalization where there'll be opportunities. He's already gotten to meet many of our administrative team, but more formalized type opportunities. He's going to need to meet with union leaders. He's going to need to meet other key individuals in the community. So we can help facilitate those things. But what I think the purpose of tonight is for HYA to come in, let them know they're here, they're part of the process, and as time goes on, the board can rest assured we'll be making these transitions. But it's good to hear from the board perspective kind of like what's important as we move forward. But again, beginning stages, things are going well. I want the board to understand that. I want the community to understand that. And so I think we'll continue to get more formalized type things as we get into March and April, would be my guess. But I know Carrie and Lynn are always available, and that I can contact them and see their thoughts on things, because they've been through it quite a bit.
I really appreciate that, and especially we are board members that we never been into this situation, and the more information that we can get, I believe is going to be beneficial. Some of you guys are being in different situations. Maybe you guys handle correctly, but in my case, I don't. And I need support. And I need to know where I'm going. For some of you, this one is easy because you've been there before, but not myself. If I'm agree with that, and I'm totally agree And I request that one, that support.
Very good. Any other comments? And what I can do is I can share that packet with the board members also. Yeah,
That's what I was
Nikita?
going to ask,
Yeah.
if it's possible to actually see what the transition
Sure,
plan entails.
absolutely. Yeah, we could pass it around now. I mean, that's not a problem. Someone want to help Karen out over there so she can,
Again, this is our whole shebang. I mean,
Right.
We weren't exactly sure specifically what you're looking for, and so we showed you everything that we could offer in this packet here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Carrie, Lynn, what you suggested earlier, I'll be in discussions with Dr. Klein to sit down as you suggested.
Yeah, the sooner
About a good date to do that with.
the sooner the better to assess the needs and start developing the initial part of the transition.
Yeah, thank you. If there's no more comments, or anyone else have? Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
all right, take care. Good to see you. We'll see you
Good to see
again.
all you.
And then this is just a slide which kind of I just summarized earlier. So again, Jason's here tonight. Thank you, Jason, for being here. And he's here, right? Yeah, he's still
Yeah.
here. He didn't leave? Okay, good. He's going to stick it out for us. All right, thanks, Jason. All right, summer school dates and preview.
All right, so we're already thinking about summer school. So this is just a little preview that we do every year to let you know when the summer school dates are. We will still have 2 sessions. What we've moved to is we primarily have in-person sessions in our first session. So it starts a little bit later this year because we started school later. So it's Monday, June 8th through Wednesday, July 1st. We run summer school Monday through Thursday, and from 8:30 a.m. to 12:45. So the in-person classes focus mostly on English and math. Those classes are in person. And then we have credit recovery, which is online for students. And those are classes that fewer students fail. So we don't have a teacher there. It might be, 1 or 2 kids that need to take a chemistry class or something like that. But one thing that we're introducing into session 1 is our incoming freshman Summer Matters Math Intensive. So we're going to focus on incoming freshmen who have lower test scores. 15-day intensive. If they do well in that course, they'll be able to go into Math 1. And even if they don't show the required skills for Math 1, that'll at least give them a jump start. They'll feel more comfortable coming into Math 1, so we're really excited to get that off the ground in session 1, and that will be in person with a teacher. So excited about that. Session 2 is much, much smaller. It is credit recovery only, although again, looking for ways to increase opportunities for our students. We're going to have a teacher-supported math acceleration. So again, we're focusing on students who are behind grade level, and they can come in, say, they're juniors who are in a Math 2 class instead of Math 3, they can have that extra support so that they can get up to grade level. So again, looking for ways for our students to make sure that they're on track for graduation and going into career and college and all of the things that they want to do. So that's just a little bit of a preview of what we have coming up in the summer.
Okay, next we have Brittany, who's going to come out from behind the technology hub over there and actually present for us on primarily the E-rate.
Yes, thank you everybody for your time this evening. It's that time of year where I provide a technology update related to our E-rate funding as well as our upcoming purchase of Chromebooks for the incoming freshman class. Very similar to my presentation last year, I'll go over what E-rate is, details on our funding for the next 5-year cycle, and our purchasing plan for the next 5 years. As you all know, E-rate provides funding for schools and libraries for discounted internet and related services and infrastructure. We're starting starting year one of a new 5-year cycle. It's administered through USAC, or the Universal Service Administrative Company, through fees applied to telecommunication companies. There are 2 categories of funding. Category 1 is our internet. There is no funding award or budget limit for that. Category 2 is our related infrastructure and services. That funding award is determined at the start of the cycle. So this year we got an update for E-rate 2026 through E-rate 30. It takes your fall enrollment count and multiplies it by USAC's student multiplier. As you can see on the slides here, it looks like it's jumped quite a bit to account for inflation. So that kind of offset, as you can see, we actually had more funding this cycle than we did last, but you can see our enrollment has gone down, so that's kind of offset that. So for category 2 in total, we have approximately $271,000, of which a certain amount is reimbursed to us. And that reimbursement rate is determined by our participation in the National School Lunch Program. As you all know, we're part of the CEP program that provides free breakfast and lunch for all of our students. It is a 4-year commitment. We're currently in year 3. Same as last year, we're receiving, for this E-rate cycle, year 1, the highest discount rate available for both category 1 and category 2. So 90% discount or reimbursement rate for our internet service and 85% for our category 2 purchases. Next year is year 4 for CEP, so I'd imagine our discount rate will continue to be the highest, and if we continue with CEP beyond that, I assume our discount rate will be the highest as possible, though that's determined year to year. With E-rate funding, you're not obligated to spend a certain amount each year. Instead, the name of the game is to maximize it in that 5-year cycle, or you lose it. What's been historic for Fenton and with a lot of other districts is that we align it with our device refresh cycle. So last year, we purchased primary networks switches in the spring. This year, our secondary network switches, which are installed throughout our network closets in the building, need to be refreshed. So formally next month, I will request board approval for that purchase. Looking beyond years 2 through 5, I don't anticipate, as it stands right now, utilizing category 2 funding in year 2, 3, and 4. However, year 5, it'll be time to refresh our wireless access points, so we'll use the rest of that E-rate funding to supplement that purchase. As far as where we are in this year's E-rate cycle, we're currently in the 28-day waiting period. We've put our proposal out to bid for vendors, specifications on make, models, quantities, etc. That 28-day waiting period ends the first week of March, at which time we'll review the proposals we receive and select the vendor that best meets our needs. Next month's board meeting, I will officially request board approval for the purchase of the secondary network switches. We'll pay for those in full. E-rate allows you up until September of the following year to complete the project, but what's been typical for us, given the time we purchase and when we typically receive the items, we make that part of our summer project for that year. So updating our secondary network switches is on the docket for us for this summer. Once we complete that purchase, we certify that with USAC and request reimbursement, and we typically get that the following spring. Our second update is related to the class of 2030's Chromebooks. We're entering the 13th year of our one-to-one device program, in which every student here at Fenton receives a Chromebook when they start, and it's theirs to use for their time here. We've transitioned to Lenovo Chromebooks, and we'll continue to do so for the class of 2030. We really appreciate Lenovo's commitment to the reinforced structural components in their devices. We know there's a lot of wear and tear with students' Chromebooks, and we definitely see it all. So we appreciate the reinforcement of the screen, the hinges, the back and front covers. And we're going to continue to use a line that allows for 2-in-1 convertible touch screens that our students are used to. It's a bit of a tumultuous time for technology sourcing. You all may have heard in the news with the rapid increase of data centers and large-scale computing operations, certain PC components are difficult to source. So Lenovo has gone, for any of their generations going forward, they're all in on MediaTek processors. You may have heard shortage on Intel processors specifically. I think it'll be a good thing for our kids. The way the MediaTek processors are designed, they're more efficient, which means longer battery life on a single charge and overall better lifespan of the battery, which is good news for our students. If you ask anybody in our Chrome zone, we hear about quite a bit that their Chromebook needs to be charged or it doesn't have enough juice. So I think this is good for them. That being said, with that sort of tumultuous timeline we're dealing with, I've leveraged reaching reaching out to vendors that we've worked with in the past, as well as some that have been vetted by nearby K-12 districts. In addition, I am utilizing Illinois Learning Technologies quote request program. They anonymously reach out for requests on our behalf. So I'm reviewing all of our options. The plan is to purchase 310 devices within a warranty and the necessary Google Chrome licensing. What's typical, as in years past, is we'll supplement this purchase with some Title I funds of at least $57,600 for this year. For context, I threw up what our total cost was for the class of 2029 Chromebooks. We were looking at $339 per device with a total with the licensing and warranty of $167,000. So again, come March, I will have official numbers for you all, and we'll be seeking board approval for the purchase.
What happened to the devices that happened to survive in decent condition beyond the warranty?
Oh, we utilize these. So we have a fleet of loaners that we use throughout the school day. Students that don't bring their devices or they don't have enough charge, they can swap for that. Those in good shape, we really leverage that warranty till its very end. We'll send those out after they come back from our graduating seniors who opt not to purchase, and those are used. We just got through state testing. We had 40 Chromebooks available for kids that didn't have it. So they're used for a variety of purposes. We're all in on Minga, so we have check-in stations. Those are great devices to use for those. So we really maximize them until they don't turn on anymore. Yep.
Okay.
Thank you very
Great
much.
job, Brittany. Appreciate everything you do. Okay, now we're going to move on to, we're going to have gentlemen from Honeywell come forward, and this is sort of a follow-up presentation for what we talked about last time with a little bit more in-depth information as far as potentially what Honeywell can offer us.
Thanks for having me back, and nice to meet the full group tonight. So whoever's in control, the Wizard of Oz, we can move here. So we talked a little bit about this in the last meeting, but for the folks that are seeing this for the first time, what we're working on here is what is called an energy savings performance contract. In the state of Illinois, there's a specific statute that talks about energy efficiency, and basically the basis of the statute is to allow schools to use some of the purchasing power of more energy efficiency and saving money that they pay on utility bills to move forward some large expenditures that come up over time. So what we've done so far and what we're working on right now is we've taken a look, and the things that we're looking at as far as energy efficiencies go here at the high school is solar, lighting, building envelope, and water conservation. We took a look at the controls, and we know that there's been a significant amount of work done there. So when you see there, when we have the X's, it's really kind of what we're recommending at this point. I can share a little bit more than what's up there, but the lighting looks to be a good investment for the district to change over to those lights and provide that saving. These are a pretty good version of what you guys have in some spaces, and we would match that throughout, but that new version of those lights would provide a significant amount of savings over time and would be a good investment. We're continuing to investigate the solar. We have engineers tentatively scheduled for next week if we decide to move forward, but we've gathered a significant amount of information so far because we are trying to stick to a pretty tight deadline that the federal government has put forward with the One Big Beautiful Bill anniversary starting on July 4th of 2026, and there being some milestones that need to be hit by then. So you can go ahead and move to the next one. I'm going to talk a little bit about what you see here. So we know we can get panels on the new section. So on the left, all the way down there in the corner where our Google map did not show your new building. Thank you, Vanna White. We got the panels over there showing. You'll see it's kind of in an odd array because we do know that you do have some rooftop units on there. So that's why it's kind of misshapen like that. But on the other side, there were some plans for roofing going forward in your capital plans. And what we're bringing folks out to do is to tell tell us exactly what the structural supports are of those roofs, and what we get is a pounds per square foot report based on how many pounds per square foot the sections of the roofs can handle and the age of the roofs. That allows us to make recommendations of which pieces of your roof, which sections of your roof likely do not need a replacement over a long amount of time and will not need a reinforcement that makes the investment into the solar not worth it. So those are all the things that we're working towards. At this point, everything that we're going to talk about in numbers, our engineers do a good job, but they're preliminary, right? We need to get everybody on site. We need to give you hard numbers. So the thing that we're talking about today is there enough information and interest from you all for us to continue down this path? And at the end of that path, if we go our separate ways and do not move forward on any part of the project, there is a break fee associated with, and I shared a contract with Doug, but really at the end of that, if we do all of our due diligence and we deliver all of these plans to you, the worst case scenario here in this situation is that you all would end up with fully you could execute on those plans in the future at basically a third or a quarter of the cost you would normally pay an architect or somebody to design those plans. You would have plans that are ready to move forward with. So the worst case scenario is we go our separate ways, it doesn't work out for timing, whatever reason, you guys would still have deeply discounted plans that you could execute on when the time is right. So that's what we're kind of talking about today. So if we go to the next slides, we get through to the numbers. And we made a couple assumptions here, and I'm trying to boil down the savings as simply as I can here. So within the federal tax credit, almost every county around Chicagoland, except for Rockford, and I forget what the name of their county is, but out by Rockford. Yeah, there you go. And then, so we can get an extra 10% because they have been determined as energy. We have lost energy coal jobs over the years. So because of that loss, there's an extra 10%. So the way you can get to the 40% federal tax credit that significantly discounts that solar is by using a non-tax deferred method of payment. So if you guys pay out of operating funds, you guys do not use a tax-deferred bond, you do not use a tax-exempt lease option that we could help with, as long as you guys do not pay with another double dip of tax-deferred payment, you guys can get up to that 40% credit. So what that does to your project is it is a $2.3 million approximate. We have, other close numbers, but $2.3 million approximately on the solar. The district would only pay $1.2 million of that total $2.3 million cost, because the 40% comes right off the top. We would take that payment once you get it delivered from the federal government. So this first scenario is taking into consideration that you are using a non-tax deferred payment for the solar so that we can maximize that 40% credit. If we are to do that and then do the lighting, building envelope, and water and get the savings that we believe we can get, where it says savings are approximately $214,000 per year, which would be approximately $4.28 million over the 20-year term, those savings are coming from the dollars that are going out the door that you're spending on utilities right now. So we're talking about a budget neutral option where instead of those dollars paying for the electricity that you're using every day, those dollars are now paying for some upgraded lighting, some solar, some building envelope, and some water. So it's the same dollars going out the door, it's just where they're going and the return that you are then getting on them. I did another scenario, well, I have the cash flow for this from the solar, and so this is just the solar breakdown and where those savings come from. The state of Illinois, why this works a little bit better than other places is we have something called RECs, and those REC revenues, which are basically smack dab in the middle, about $57,000 there, is an Illinois Shines program that basically says thank you for not using other carbon created energy, and those are certificates that get paid like a commodity every year. So we help you measure the production that comes along from it. So the state of Illinois guarantees that for 20 years, and then the cost savings that you see highlighted in the yellow that add up to, about $158,000, that is strictly coming off your utility bills. So when you put all of those things together, that's a big driver of this. As I mentioned, the lighting does have a payback as well within that 20-year span that adds to those savings. So this is just a perspective on the solar portion of the project. And you'll see that's where we did the calculations there. You'll see the sale price, $2.3 million. You'll see the cost to customer at 1.2 something. My eyes from here. But the 40% off the top for the tax credit, the ComEd incentive that you see next to it also goes along with that. So you guys are paying in the low 50% as we charge through, the end of this federal tax incentive. I have cash flows that, here we go for like the 20 years. And so what you can see there, a couple things to take note of in this, and if it's available to you on your screens and you guys to look at later, the customer cash contribution you'll see is in years, not 0, but 1, 2, and 3. That $400,002 represents that 1.2 that we were talking about that the district would be responsible for out of the $2.3 million solar project.
I got first of a number of questions.
Yep.
Here. So if it's a customer cash contribution, shouldn't that have brackets around it? Because energy savings, in my world, should be a positive. Customer cash contributions, if that's what we're putting in, should, be a negative.
Yeah.
And then somehow then there's lease payments that are negative, and then somehow you come up to 566. Now, I haven't run that, through a calculator, but can you explain that presentation to me?
Yeah, so our finance team, I cannot explain the use of the brackets and the not use of the brackets, but I can tell you that I work through this with them. And you want to go for it?
Yeah. So when you're looking at this, we're not treating it like a traditional balance sheet. So we're treating capital contribution like capital cost avoidance. So it's an input, into the project itself, and then the net aggregate is what we're looking at the bottom. So at the end of the day, this cash flow, which I had my glasses.
Oh, by the way, are we leasing this? Are we owning it? Because I see lease payments.
So you would own the asset, and then the one version of a tax exempt debt tool is a tax exempt lease. Some people use geo bonds. Some people will use private placements, which is an end run.
So this one explicitly, we took into account that you would only pay cash for the solar, and the lighting and those other pieces are where the lease portions would come in.
Who owns the lease? Who gets that money?
Up to your financial advisor. If you have somebody that you work with, we have a team that can do an RFP and bid it out.
I didn't know if Honeywellers or these.
No, it's not ours. Honeywell will not own it. We have a team that will go out, Bank of America, Wintrust. If there's banks that you guys would like to include, we would include that. But we're not in the business of financial advisors or lending the dollars.
Just exactly who do you work for again? You're not Honeywell.
I am Honeywell.
You're Honeywell.
Yeah, we're both Honeywell.
All right, but so you worry about the actual wiring and the panels.
Yes, our engineers are the ones that come out, they do the scope of work, right? We go out and we walk actual folks that will do the installs.
Okay.
So we are the ones managing the whole process, putting the numbers together, make sure we're competitively bidding everything, which financing could be part of that, but also, we have 3 bids on lighting.
We own title. We can finance it because we're taking a loan, but do we own title to this stuff?
Yes. You would be the owner.
Are you the only ones doing this? You act like you guys have been hitting all this school from what? you know.
We're not the only ones doing this. I met 3 other people at the superintendent conference last week that do this in this area. It is the same model, right, under the same Illinois statute, but we, of course, are not the only ones.
So I'm not sure, unless I talk to the other guys, where I'm getting the best price yet or not.
So what we're using here is Sourcewell.
Yeah.
Sourcewell is a competitively bid contract.
What is a Sourcewell exactly?
Yeah, so Sourcewell is a contract that went out, and the same way that you all would put out an RFP for a product or service, they put that out to all the companies that could respond.
Okay.
A bunch of companies responded, and only so many made the list. What Sourcewell then does, the same way you could use it to buy a new pickup truck, is they would say, based on what Honeywell's service we're providing you, so solar panels, design and implementation, lighting, all of those things, they've all been line itemed in the Sourcewell contract.
These companies meet the qualifications of the bid.
Correct.
Great.
And then Sourcewell sets the margin and cost plus model for each of the different services.
Then who's the supplier for these things, and what's their warranty? I haven't heard anything about what happens when one of these things fails 10 years down the road.
So you will get a warranty from the manufacturer.
Who's that?
We don't know yet because we haven't bid it out.
Okay.
Because we want to bid it to get the best price for you all. So we're not going to just take it to somebody that we've done business before.
So these numbers could change?
These numbers could change. That is possible. So I said at the beginning, this is a preliminary modeling of what we think is possible. What we would be agreeing to today is taking something like this and saying, here is 3 bids for this lighting, here is 3 bids for this solar, here is 3 bids for this. And what we would say, who do you want to work with? We would put all of the numbers together, and at the end of that whole process, we would give you the menu of those items and say, hey, the solar gives you a good return here. This is the numbers we have. The lighting gives you a good return here. We would recommend this, the building envelope. You guys would have the choice at the end of that process whether to move forward with any, all of it, anything in between. But at that point, what we're putting in front of you is guaranteed numbers to deliver the construction for.
That point.
And then we're also putting in front of you guaranteed savings. So let's say we go out and scope part of the project and we don't look in a wall and find something that's going to be a major problem for what we're trying to do. We're on the hook for that. We have to do it within the price that we already negotiated.
So this contract I'm looking at covers this vetting process here.
We're talking about an investment grade audit. So what you're agreeing to is that it is a worthwhile venture for the board to see if our preliminary numbers, and if we're close to those numbers, if it then makes sense to negotiate and talk about real numbers. So to your question about the panel that goes out, there will be a manufacturer warranty. We will help you get that replaced. But let's say because that panel was out, and if somehow our data doesn't tell us, you will have a dashboard. Our data will tell us, we will likely know that panel is out, your team will know that panel is out, but let's say that panel is out for an extended period of time and it hurts your production, and you don't save as much money as we guaranteed, we will write you a check for the difference of the money that we agreed on to save you every year.
Well, somebody's going to have to manage this for the next 20 years. Is that you guys, and watch the dashboard?
There is a measurement and verification process that we commit to. The Illinois renewable energy certificates, in order to get those payments, there is an approved vendor requirement, and there is reporting that we will help you all do. You guys will have access to all of the data and those things.
So we pay you a management fee?
Not. It is going to be more significant on the front end to set things up, but it's not going to be a never-ending management fee of, and I should say of any real, it is not going to cut into the savings in a way that's going to make the project ineffective. We're talking a low percentage based on the, if we're talking about $214,000 worth of savings, we haven't gotten to the number yet, but we're not talking like 10%. We're talking a very low single-digit percentage.
I'm not for the moment, I kind of have to believe everything you're telling me, and I'm used to, with larger projects like that, I usually have the comfort of having to talk to a couple of people to do whatever I'm trying to bid out.
Yeah.
So, but I do have one last question.
Sure.
And then I see on your project timeline that I have.
Yeah, if you want to, it's coming, yeah.
Yeah, and I'll go back for a minute.
Okay.
All right, there's another thing I want to tell you. Excuse me. That looks like just so much of a listing of numbers to me. I don't see it flow or roll into any kind of conclusions. It's got numbers, but I'm not convinced they're going anywhere. But keep moving to your other thing there. And that, I don't know. All right, now, somebody must have fixed that. And I just happened, because I caught it over the weekend. Now, it just so happens that mine says, collect bids and present to Hinsdale 86 team. So I just want to make sure that we got our numbers and not Hinsdale's, because I don't know how many times you're circulating these.
So your timeline right there, February 2026, what we're talking about right now is the investment grade audit development utilizing the Sourcewell Cooperative.
All right.
And then following through March 2026, as I mentioned, we already gathered quite a bit of information for you guys. We were able to get people to go at risk, at no cost to you all on the project. So we've gathered actually a little more information than we normally have at this point. So then in April 2026, what we're talking about there is what you're talking about. We're coming to you with real hard and fast numbers that we can discuss and agree on and decide whether or not the measures that we're bringing forward are a worthwhile venture for you all.
All right. I'm done.
That's fair.
Can I jump in real quick?
Yeah.
One other thing that we do throughout our workshops is we do everything open book pricing. So you see every bid like you would for any other, construction event. You see our fee structures, our management time, all of our engineering time. So it's a completely transparent model, and it actually mimics the Sourcewell Cooperative Purchasing Contract, which actually has my name on it nationally. So.
All right.
Yeah, and in this situation, what is the money that is available through the federal tax credit is urging the movement of a little bit more speed, and that's what the Sourcewell Co-op is designed to do. They've gone through, so
I can appreciate the fact there's some federal money at stake, but I don't want to overlook the other customary aspects that I would look at on a project of this size, and have to, in a fashion, put all my eggs in one basket, as sometimes happens.
So you're going to see all of the things that we're talking about here for the energy conservation. You will see multiple quotes for all of those things.
Would you say your estimate at this time is conservative, very conservative, and more worst case?
It's conservative. Honeywell as a company, you asked if there's other people that do this. Yes, there are other people that do this. We, in comparing numbers on the construction side, we're usually going a little bit over. And preparing numbers in this preliminary phase, we're usually being a little conservative under. So we're trying to be conservative on both sides to give you a fairly fair picture so that when we come back together, it's not a surprise. We're trying to surprise to the upside. So at this point, I would say, the numbers are conservative. We will. I've heard some things from some other projects in Minnesota that we just put together about percentages that we were actually over and things like that, but that's what this process is for. This process is for us to get you hard and fast numbers to make decisions together if that's, worth going down that path, and that's when we will make those numbers real, guaranteed in both directions.
What's the number of years for the break-even point? And you may have shared that, but I'm drowning in all these numbers.
It's on the end of the solar there. So you'll look, the very small, you'll see there's a like a $3.75, $3.75. So that simple payback in green on the right, that has the years there.
So these pay themselves off in 7.2 years.
Overall together, the entire size of the array would be 7, I think it's...
7.6.
Correct me, 7.6?
Yeah.
Yep, 7.6 approximately. Yep.
So really, this is the first series of steps. If we get further along, there'll be a small expenditure to us, but we can say, no, thank you, once we get those hard numbers that Reed was looking for, once we see the breakdowns of the proposals. But in order to try and get this tax credit, we need to at least start the process now, but that doesn't mean we're bound to the process if in May, June, we see the numbers and we realize this really isn't to our benefit, we can say, thank you, we're not moving forward. So it's not like we're committing to everything today, we're just committing to the first step.
Yes, and the whole number that's on that IGA contract is when we've completed everything, when we completed all of the work. So one of the very first things that we're going to do is we're going to get a structural and electrical analysis. Let's say numbers come back and we have to rebuild structures. There's a whole bunch of other work that has to be done that we didn't plan for. We will let you know, and all we are going to do is go dollar for dollar what the cost was to gather that information at that moment. So it's not like if you agree to go through with this tonight and sign that document, that whole number is it. It's all going to be dependent on where we are in the process, the information we gather. With the people that we're in this process with, we have weekly meetings. I talk to them way more than that, but we have weekly set meetings. But we talk, and every time we get information, good, bad, otherwise, we share it. So there's plenty of off-ramps within this process, but that number signifies if we do all of the work, we deliver you plans on viable options that you guys can retain, and for one reason or another you tell us that we're not going to move forward with anything, that would be the largest amount that you would be on the hook for.
You say, remind me, how after tax incentives, how much are we out of pocketing?
On the solar, it would be 1.2, and then we're approximating for the lighting, building envelope, and water, possibly another 900,000. Would be the rest of the project. So it's a $3.2 million project, but because of the incentives on solar, there's some incentives on lighting as well, so that's going to be close. So if you do 3.2 minus about the 1.1 you're getting back on solar, there are some lighting things in there. So it's basically the district cost would be, of the total 3.2 that you see up there, approximately 2.1 million. And all of those things will be hard and fast in a contract, right, when we get through this process if we decide to move forward.
You mentioned that you would be bringing on a structural, let's see, to do a structural analysis, but also you do an electrical assessment of our.
Yep.
Could you explain what will come out of that electrical analysis?
Yeah, so if you, on the February 2026.
Before you explain, because a building is kind of like, about 50 to 70 years old.
Yep.
And I know some things has been done, and I guess my concern hearing that is, is it still good enough to see value out of something like this without major internal improvements?
So that's the first thing that we do. So Commonwealth Edison's interconnection agreement, interconnection application requires two things. It requires a structural analysis and it requires an electrical diagram of how we would connect the system to what you currently have. Okay, so those are the first two things that tell us, is this viable? This project is really, the savings are driven by the solar end of it, so that's why those things are the first things that need to be done. It's also kind of the longest part of the process, right? Going with ComEd, delivering these materials, getting feedback on what, they might have outside in their grid, what you guys have in the building. But part of the reason that we're doing those things first is most of the buildings that we're working with, especially like DuPage County, suburbs around here, they started with one section of their building that was a small school, 80, 100. We were at Evanston today, 150 years ago, right? That started as one small section, and they've just been making additions and additions and additions and additions. So this is pretty normal everywhere that we're working with. And so the point of the investment grade audit is to get into all of those systems and say, all right, we didn't know that this electrical here was going to be an issue. This is what it's going to cost. And that's how we allow you to make the decisions, is we're really going to deep dive into all of those things and make sure we vet it through this process.
Good validity.
Yeah.
Is there room for us to take that?
Yep.
One of the things I forgot, this is when you were here last month, this came up.
Yep.
But the idea that, if there's some cases where we got to put new roofing on, or clearly we have some old sections, what have you, that somehow or another, and I clearly have no knowledge of this, that, if we were to put solar panels over somebody's, new roof, that whoever did that is going to think that's okay and make sure their warranties are still intact, and I'm not sure where we left that.
Yeah, so in the other projects that we're working on, we've been connecting with the roofing companies. We have them come out and do an inspection before we put anything up there. We have them come up and do an inspection after. We understand their warranties, but we make sure to follow that. We're not drilling holes in flat roofs. It's a weighted, racking system. So it's usually not a major issue with the roofing companies, but they usually have a process that we will make sure to follow in the installation and planning and all of those pieces so that we do maintain your warranties.
Okay, they may not like holes drilled in their roof.
They do not like that. No.
So the style of roof.
Yeah, you guys are flat.
And the structure on
I wouldn't have gone up there if it was slanted, you couldn't get me up there, but it's flat. Yeah, I mean, so it should not be, but that's also a normal part of the process.
Okay.
John, I know you've jumped around your presentation. Did you go over the one with the financing option yet?
I didn't. So if you want to just bounce back to that, the difference that I wanted to show you is if you finance the whole amount, right, that's what this model here says. I didn't have another cash flow with all of those pieces because I think the piece to just think about here is if you were financing the whole amount using some kind of tax, deferred financing, the difference in your savings is approximately $54,000 a year because you're paying 6% more on the front end because you're not getting the full 40% tax credit. It would move down to a 34% tax credit, and then just the cost of the financing on that full amount with that loss of 6% reduces your savings by a little bit over $1 million over the 20-year guaranteed term. So I just wanted to give you perspective of the impact that using a non-tax deferred funding source for the solar could have, and I thought this was the kind of the simplest way to call that out.
Any other questions from the board? Okay, could we just go to that timeline slide again? So as far as where this goes, we do have this down later in the meeting as an action item as far as the investment grade audit. As you can see, there is the timeline there. That's why we're sitting here tonight and taking a look at whether we want to approve that portion. As was pointed out, that July 4th tax credit, federal tax credit could go away, and that's why the timeline is sort of as tight as it is. But I don't know if the board wants to discuss any further about their views on this here or wait for the vote.
Whether we move forward, go ahead.
Under Robert's rules, we should wait for the item to come up on the agenda for voting.
That's reasonable.
Sounds good. Okay. Any other questions?
Whether we move forward with this or not, it's still the structural analysis, the electrical assessment still gives us something valuable to us because it still helps us to assess our current building. And it's something we have up front and won't have to pay for again in any other capacity.
And just to reiterate, if you all go through with any piece of the project, any piece of it, then it's just part of the work that we do to get the project started.
So the clarifying point is the investment grade audit counts as starting the project and ensures.
Well, the number that you all have on there, right, where it says the break fee, the $98,000, that is only if we do not do any type of project.
Right.
Yeah, that's it.
Yep. Okay.
Yep.
Just to go, could you explain how? Because we have some new board members that weren't here when you first explained how starting the project, by July the 1st, and this being one single building, allows a period of time for us to address the rest of our roof and still have the entire project.
Yep. So that is the real kicker for you all and what you have in your capital plans as far as addressing sections of roof. By doing a 5% spend on the project by July 4th, and also starting construction. So the starting of construction could simply just be the new wing and that section of the project. That starting of construction now buys you 3 more summers of construction time. So if you have roof sections built into the future, you can keep this tax credit that is expiring through the safe harbor rules for all the way through December, I think, I don't want to screw it up, but you'll get 3 more summers of construction after this one, an opportunity to do that.
And portions of our roof are already due for replacement over the next few years. So that's why that.
Right. And, by design, in a little bit, we're going to go over another topic that Doug's going to walk the board through as far as what we want to do for example, for replacing roofs that are in poor condition. So everything's intertwined here tonight, but it's right. So it's contingent on different things. Okay, thank you very much. Speaking of Doug, he's going to continue our facility assessment and funding strategies.
Good evening, Board. Good evening, Board. Again, thank you for all the time, and obviously we were wanting to spend a lot of time focusing on facility improvements, and that's a major point for us to navigate tonight with all the other things. But what we wanted to touch base on is our continued conversations on ways that we can improve the facilities, and we've talked about this in some small portions of regular board meetings and on some of our finance and facility committee meetings, but we just wanted to bring some of this again to the attention of the board and get some recommendations on where to move forward with a few of these facility improvement planning ideas as well as some financing options. So again, a quick recap. 5 years ago, or a little over 5 years ago, back in 2020, we had the school district's architect firm, STR, complete a facility assessment, taking a look at a comprehensive plan to address the needs of our buildings and grounds. And they came back in 2020 with $115 million, or just under $116 million facility needs project for the purposes of issuing a referendum. And in 2021, that same architect firm revised our every 10 years we need to complete a health life safety survey, and they completed a revised 10-year life safety survey in 2021. And of that $115.7 million of facility improvement needs, they identified 1.5 of that 115 to be state-mandated health life safety projects that need to be completed within 10 years in order to maintain that compliance with ISB. between that 2021 and present day, we've made some significant improvements to our facilities. Athletics, as most of you are very well aware, we've had some comprehensive stadium improvements with our track, our turf, our fencing, our restrooms, the asphalt surrounding, and also the entryway to our outdoor athletic facilities. In our academic areas, we have our wonderful STEM wing, and we've begun some initial classroom renovations. We've modified 5 science classrooms. We've also modified and renovated a band room. And then in addition, some infrastructure adjustments have been made. We've approximately about 15% of the galvanized pipe that was identified in the Health Life Safety Survey has been completed, so we still have about 85% of the old galvanized pipe that needs to be replaced throughout the building. We've replaced backflow preventer. That was another item on the Health Life Safety. On our Health Life Safety, we had some safety upgrades with the field house exterior doors, and we've done other infrastructure items with our IBS or BAS system for our HVAC, so the electronics, the computer programs. So we've done a lot of work within the building. But as you see on this next slide, unfortunately, that financially hasn't made a huge dent. In 2025, this last fall, we had our architect firm, STR, update that 2020 facility assessment. The numbers are accurate. In 2020, the facility assessment was around $116 million. With those facility improvements we've made from 2020 to present day, they eliminated all of those items we've already completed, but due to costs of labor, costs of inflation, et cetera, the project has increased to 123. That's, again, removing many of the items we've already completed. Yes, sir.
Yeah, some of this looks to me to be a little mixed up, but I'll tell you why in a minute. Can you back up all right, because we're talking about some facility needs from STR. Okay, fine. Then we're talking about some state-mandated safety improvements. Okay, now those are separate topics to me.
Correct.
All right. Now, the athletics and the academics portion, I'm going to round these off just for convenience. Athletics will say it was 10 million. The academics will call it 32, say 42 million in round terms. Okay, but that's part of the 2020 deal. Okay, the safety compliance is the infrastructure with the galvanized pipe and what have you. Now, what little I know about safety improvements is something about you're supposed to do those things within 10 years or what have you, but I'm not going to wade into the details. But I am trying to separate a couple of different topics that are showing up on the same slide. Can you go to the next one? So, for instance, this facility update assessment, thing. This is all speaking to the 2020 study.
Correct.
All right. So at that time we took $42 million off the table. We did the athletics. We put the addition on here someplace. Okay. And then what you're telling me is beyond that, as of 2025, there's an additional still $120,000.
$123 million. Yes.
Pardon me. Wrong. Sorry. Dropped a few zeros there. Immediate infrastructure facility needs. That's kind of upgrade. Now, how much of this is wants and needs? Where's the bells and whistles?
I think what Doug's trying to do is just provide context.
Well, and a few million here and a few million there.
Right. Well, but he's building toward, I think, the main point of what we're trying to get to tonight. These numbers here are good, better, best, where you would actually add them all up. I think the main point here, not to speak for Doug, but I guess I am, is that through inflation or whatever, that cost has gone up. It doesn't mean what are all these items? I mean, that's not really, we're going to go into that. But I understand what you're saying. They're two separate topics, but he's just
Right.
trying to set some foundation to then continue with the presentation.
Right, now you need to understand a little bit of the flow now.
Yeah.
I'm better now.
Understood. The way that, to answer your last question, and then if we're good, I'll continue to move on. The architects identified the closer thing to the needs in that tier 1 being good. And then the nice to haves and the pie in the sky are tier 2 and tier 3.
So this is not necessary, okay, so there's some repetitive projects in here, it just depends how much you want, how much money you want to throw at them.
Correct.
Okay, because well, then the total needs is 123, if that's those three numbers, that's not quite representative. Because these are, some of these are mutually exclusive, depending on how much money you want to throw at the project.
Correct. So the total needs, that 123 million, is the sum of the good plus the better plus the best.
Yeah, but I thought a minute ago I understood that those differentiate depending on whether you just want to do a good job or a better job or the best job, although they're the same projects.
The tier 3, for example, just one thing, in the tier 3 has a complete tear down and rebuild of a facility, a field house and a fitness center. That is not included in the tier 1.
Okay.
So there are additional projects that go on in the tier 2 and the tier 3. Yep.
Why is tier 2 cheaper than tier 1?
Tier 2 just has fewer additional projects. So Tier 1 is a series of, say, round numbers, 30 projects, and then 20 additional projects on top of that 30, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I see the flow.
Tier 1 is we put in a shower in the John. Tier 3 is we put in the executive washroom.
I will agree with that. That's a good way to put it.
I got it.
So to sort of tie the previous slide to this slide, to what we were saying before, of course, $123 million worth of work is a ton of work. As an executive team, as an administrative team, we took a look at all of those facility needs, and we tried to really get it down to what do we actually need. Of that work, we identified around $15 million worth of work that we feel that could really improve our learning environments, the student life, and the arts and the activities for our students, and then also meet some of our baseline critical infrastructure and site safety needs. So again, $123 million, we're definitely talking a referendum with something like that, but if we pared it down to the bare essentials of what we felt would really positively impact the learning environment, the student life, and the infrastructure, we thought we could get it to around 15 million. And as you see in the learning environment, some older science classrooms that still need to be renovated. Our culinary labs could use a refresh. Many of our CTE, our career and technical education classrooms could use a refresh. We renovated our band room, but our choir room could use a refresh. Upgrades, we've heard presentations from students in the past, and it's also been an item for us. Our auditorium could use a really nice refresh. Our field house and some of our athletic facilities could use some updates. We've heard from some community members, our tennis courts could use a nice refresh. And then obviously we heard from Honeywell. We know that we have a large portion of our roofs are on expired warranties, so they're in a need to be replaced, as well as things like our HVAC mechanicals. A lot of the computer and software have been updated, but still the physical components could be redone. We know that for many of you who have been in our main gym, it would be nice to have some air conditioning in there, especially during those shoulder months of the school year. And then our parking lot, it could use a lovely update as well. So those are some of the priorities. Of course, there are many other things, but we really wanted to try to pare it down to a tangible dollar amount that we could potentially do something with. So with that $15 million in mind, this is sort of a funding strategy that we wanted to present to the board. We've talked about these things again in the past and in both committee meetings and at the regular board meetings. From our water mitigation and our STEM wing projects, we have about $5 million of carryover money that is sitting in Fund 60. That fund is specifically needed to be used for facility projects or capital improvement projects. We could take that $5 million and focus that directly on those classroom and extracurricular ideas. These are things that would positively impact our students' learning environments, the student life, the student arts, et cetera. And then another funding option that was not available until recently, within the past 2 years, issuing a life safety bond, which is we've talked about this in committee. We haven't officially proposed anything. We're again in sort of the exploratory phase, but issuing a life safety bond, again, we talked about this last month, would be about we'd estimate we'd need a $10 million life safety bond where we could then focus that money on those infrastructure, mechanical, building improvements that would address life safety needs and things that need to be done, but they're not those exciting things that the kids and the community would see. Yes, sir.
The life safety bond, you've got it up there for $10 million, but what are the limits of something like that?
A life safety bond does not have a limit.
Okay.
So in theory, so how the process works, I'll kind of go through that last bullet point here. What we would need to do in order to get to that point of issuing a life safety bond, we would need the board to make action to approve an amended survey of our health life safety survey that was completed in 2021. If the board approved the process of amending the health life safety survey, a licensed design professional, our architects, Midwest Mechanical, even a Honeywell, there would be a company that would come out and they would redo the life safety survey. That life safety survey would then come to the board. It would come to the administrative team and the board for approval prior to going to the ROE and the State Board of Education. If they came back to us and said, you have $120 million worth of life safety needs, we would very politely ask them to revise that life safety prior to approving it.
Bring your mic down. No, bring the boom down so we can hear you.
Now it's on.
Thank you.
There we go.
Okay.
So we do have some controls, and we can put in some boundaries in that life safety audit to make sure that it's not something that is so unattainable that we'd have to issue a referendum or we'd have to borrow an exorbitant amount of money.
Hold on, Ken. This is something you did like 5 years ago, right?
The audit was 5 years ago. Yeah,
Right.
he mentioned it at the beginning.
Yeah,
in
but-
2020.
But how much did it cost back then?
The audit?
Yeah.
It was wrapped up into STR's fee. It wasn't broken out.
All right. Well, I'm just trying to get a little, I wasn't here the last time they did it. I'm trying to get a little background, but
That's my copy. Take it, read it.
my knee-jerk reaction is it seemed like it would be a good idea. Okay, I'm missing little details about how much it would cost. But, a life safety bond, and it seems to address needs, is something that, in my world, would seem to be a good idea.
Yeah, when you first mentioned a redo or update to that safety assessment, it drew my concern. Do we want to open that closet right now? Because I didn't know we could have a strong say into ultimately what get put on that list.
Yeah, I thought there was...
My first reaction was, let's let sleeping dogs lie until we take care of the last list. But it does help to know
I got a
have
question.
input on what gets put on there.
I got a question, because there's something about, I remember John telling me one time, once this thing's put down on paper, you're obligated.
That's what I was talking. That's what I was talking about. 10 years to get it done. Yes, that was my fear. Was we open that door and this.
Well, the nice
Huge
thing
cost.
the nice thing that Doug brought up, though, is now they've given us an additional funding mechanism short of a referendum. And I like that it has an end date. This is not perpetual, so it's not going to be permanent. It's for a specific task, it's a specific amount, it's for a specific number of years, it has an end date, it goes away, we're done. And, you know, that is appealing now because it gives us an option, it gives us a tool that was unavailable in the future. And as a taxpayer, I like that it has an end date. It's being specifically focused on projects that meet certain criteria. It's not a pie in the sky, yeah, we really want a field house, so we're going to, no. This is very focused, very specific, very researched, going through several steps in the approval process. I mean, it's grateful we have another option in a tax cap county. Don't want to kill the taxpayers. I'm one of them. My kids are gone. But I get it. There's still needs. We got to support the building. This is a nice tool and a nice option, and it's a nice way to move forward with this. You know, to get hit with the first number that scared me very much. I'm trying to do this right, but to see the due diligence to pare it down to just 15 million, you know, yeah, we have that 5 million that has to go specifically to building, boom, covered, then we're only bonding 10 million, dropped that in. This is a nice way to approach this.
Yeah, I totally get to be careful what you ask for. Okay, I'm assuming you can manage that.
I will be able to, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And then having direction on the life safety bond allows us to better allocate that 5 million remaining.
Right, because if you don't do the latter, the 10 million, then you have the 5 million, and you have a lot of
it only
pretty
goes so
urgent
far.
needs, like that would be in the life safety audit, the revised one. So it changes what you try to focus on. And there really isn't enough there in that 5 million to really start to take care of some of those more urgent needs.
Nice. The needs go beyond the 5 million.
I did have one question on a previous slide, just context in my head. We talked about oldest roof section, approximate percentage. Do you have that offhand? Are we talking 10%, 20%? Just help it process in my mind.
It's about a third.
About a third? Oh, even better. So it's about a third. Okay.
If we went back to that Honeywell presentation, where they would be putting that second stage of solar panel arrays, those roofs are currently expired warranty, so they need to be replaced.
But still, that's still covering a third of our roofs. Our old. So okay, it makes. I feel even better hearing a third. I'm thinking 10%. A third. That's a pretty good chunk of preparedness, and then that plays into Honeywell and newer roofs and warranties and so forth. All right, no, excellent news, kinda, sorta, I guess, I don't know.
With transitioning to the sort of the impacts on taxpayer, the benefits and the consequences, positive and negatives of the various options. So if this is something that you as a board need to weigh and then provide us with direction. If we go, these are in no particular order other than option C being the recommendation from the administrative team. If we went with option A and we did not issue a life safety bond and we just used the remaining $5 million on capital improvements, there's no increased tax impact on the taxpayer other than our annual levy increase. But the downside to that is we would have to further prioritize our needs. Most of the needs would need to go into facility improvement infrastructure. Most of it would be steering away from student life, student experiences, academics, et cetera. We'd be doing it on roofing and plumbing and some of those pieces. That would not deter a future need for a life safety bond or even a referendum. Option B, we could certainly, again, go with no life safety bond, and you could direct me as a business manager with our budgeting process to allocate more funds to the operations and maintenance of the building. What I would need to do is shift money from our education fund or our transportation fund or any one of the other funds towards O&M. Again, that doesn't negatively impact our taxpayer other than the typical levy, but the downside to that is we need to make some significant changes. Now we're really impacting student services, and but that is an option that we could choose. And then the third option, which is the one that we're recommending, we utilize the $5 million from Fund 60 as well as issue, again, approximately $10 million life safety bond. Where that tax impact is, this would be a 10-year, $10 million life safety bond. This would be, again, an approximate number, but it would be about $75 a year for a homeowner that has a $300,000 home with an end date of 10 years. So again, you're talking about $750 over a 10-year span on a $300,000 homeowner. And again, the benefits to that, of course, the negatives, that is an impact on the taxpayer, but the benefits are we have that $5 million. We can preserve operating funds and continue to do many of the great things we're doing here within the district. And in addition, we could then utilize that $5 million for a lot of those nice-to-do projects that we want to continue beautifying and improving the school.
I'd like to add something to that I think is important. It's easy to look at this and say $75 a year for a $300,000 home. But that doesn't account for the fact that we're not the only taxing body. And so that idea of $75 a year being, it doesn't seem like a whole lot. In reality, it's not the only ask that will be out there by all of these overlapping taxing bodies. So I think that's important to keep in mind.
Thank you.
And I totally agree with the doctor's statement, but I also have to look at it as we have to do our due diligence. I can only control my little section of the pie. It's unfortunate, and I think this is a lot less painful than a referendum, which is forever, whereas it has a drop-dead date. I mean, we're going to have to look at the lesser of the evils. Are we going to impact how we educate our students? Are we going to not let certain things get done? Are we going to wait until we're at that critical impasse? How much more is this going to cost? Look, I can't believe the increase just in 5 years in that plan. What's it going to be in another 5 years? I mean, some of this stuff we have to nip in the bud. What's going to be the lesser of two evils? I mean, I get it, but what is nice about option C is it's a drop dead 10 years, it's gone, it's not a referendum that's there forever. And I agree, there are going to be other asks from fires, from other schools, from library, from park. And I totally agree with them looking at the big picture, because I just looked at my tax bill, but I also know we got to be true here, and I can only control what I can control. And what's going to be the least painful way to achieve this goal. And I think having a 10-year drop dead date is a plus. And we haven't decided anything, but while we're having this conversation, I hear what the doctor's saying 100%. He's right. And I wish I could control the other districts, but man, this is tough. Nothing's a good decision here, in my opinion. Nothing's a good decision. What's the lesser of three evils? Honestly.
Just to give you an idea of the 115 from the initial facility audit assessment that was done in 2020 to the one that was just recently done in 2025, that's at 123. Let's realize that $42 million we spent on the new facility, STEM wing, and the $12 million with the water mitigation got cut out of that initial 115. And it's still at 123, approximately just over about $8 million over what was done in 2020. We thought we took a big bite out of it, but the more we wait, we can't control how cost escalates and how quickly
How much
that
of the
happens.
123 is new stuff versus cost escalation?
I think the majority of it's cost escalation. Is that correct?
Yes, with the annual inflation and materials and supplies, and we're talking about 30 to 35% increases in pricing from 2020 to 2026.
So something.
That still doesn't.
Now, one of the things I would add is that what I'm getting out of this conversation as compared to my impressions back in 2020 is there seems to be a much better focus on what the school needs versus what it wants. And I'm heartened by that.
You were saying?
No, I'm just doing mental math. If we had 115, we spent 60, then we are at about
42. Yeah.
I thought you said 42 plus 12.
30 plus
32.
12. And there's
Okay.
5
Well, yeah.
left over, which is what we still have.
So 114 minus 42, and if you add 35% to that, you don't get to 123.
Oh, to get better numbers, was the STEM wing included as part of that 115?
The STEM wing was not a part of the facility assessment.
Okay, then-
Science classroom renovations were, but a STEM wing was not a part of the 2020
Okay.
referendum.
Then it would be more
Might
probably.
explain it, yeah.
Okay. That makes sense.
Maybe we
That
should
makes
ditch
more
the
sense.
STEM wing and worked
So
on the classroom.
that makes more
We're a
sense,
little late
yeah.
for that.
Okay.
Couldn't work on the classrooms because we had nowhere to put the kids. I remember that discussion.
So they're happy with the numbers?
Yeah, that helps with the numbers.
So with the sort of the last slide here with board action, next steps, this is sort of a if, then, next, if we decide to go this route, if we go this route. So, and again, this is not an action item, this is just for discussion and to help me move along with you and supporting you. And eventually I'd like to get to having Kate and Steph spend a lot more time talking about teaching and learning than facilities. If the board wishes to further pursue the concepts of a life safety bond, that first bullet point, and then A, B, C, D. If you tell me that this is the sort of the direction we want to go, what I would do next would be to invite our financial investment advisors from PTMA. Bob Lewis is the gentleman that has presented historically to the board to talk about these things. He would further explain the life safety bond. He would get you much more accurate numbers to talk what a 10 million, $15 million life safety bond, if we did a 10-year bond, 15-year bond, et cetera, get down to the nitty-gritty of what the current borrowing rate is and what the actual tax burden would be on a taxpayer. He'd get much more granular in that financial information and present that to the board. And then we would go with contracting one of the, again, a licensed design professional. STR has done it in the past. We could use Midwest Mechanical, Honeywell, et cetera. They would then do our health, life, safety amendment. Then, again, that would come to us, it would come to the board prior to then going to the ROE and the state of Illinois for approval. So again, we do have we can put some barriers in play to make sure that this is a manageable financial contribution or commitment. And then once the ROE and the state of ISB approves it, then what we would do is take board action on issuing a life safety bond. And this was in a previous conversation or previous discussion. A life safety bond is a board action. It's not a voter action, if that makes sense.
I have a question. I'm thinking about a conversation we had here, a couple of months or so ago, I can't remember exactly. But if Midwest Mechanical were to do the study, if they did any of the work, they roll that in, as I thought. That's on, okay. If we have STR did it, that's an extra 10% that's out the window.
Correct.
So I think there'd be all the incentive to make the most bang for the buck.
I agree, Reed. Doug's presenting the different options. I think I'm reading you correctly, go with like a Midwest Mechanical rather than STR. They did tremendous work on the project and all those types of things, but I think we've got other options now that we can pursue that makes more sense.
And then final on that final bullet point, if the board doesn't have the appetite or the interest to pursue a life safety bond, we would just need to go to that previous slide of option A. What do we do with? How do we want to stretch the $5 million to the best of our ability? Or option B, stretch that $5 million and then move some money from the ed fund and transportation and so on and so forth to support our operations.
You really don't have any money if I read that correctly, you really don't have any money in operations in the next couple of years to pay for any of this stuff, if I remember the forecast.
Reed, I've had a lot of cookies today, and this week has been rough on the operations department, yes. Thank you for pointing out something that...
Just checking, I mean, I see...
Appreciate that.
I see, the thought, but okay.
The shell moving is becoming a little challenging, yes.
Reed,
Thank you.
As you've noted, I've witnessed since, December 21, when I came on, our operations and maintenance, what we're spending there has done, at least at that time, I saw the stiff increase, and it's done nothing much since then than do the same thing.
Okay.
And it's the reality of we're sitting in an very old building. And the longer we wait to address it, we subjecting whatever board has to address it to some huge costs.
Yeah.
So much as we can chip off, it just helps.
Yeah, but we're
down the
also in a
road.
very, very difficult place financially. The fiscal health of this district is not good. I mean, that's evident in the financial projections. So we can't go to the taxpayer every 5 minutes asking for additional funds to do projects. We need to look at alternative ways to find resources that can be used.
True.
And to that point, Dr. McCullough, the Honeywell is one of those options that we just previously presented as ways to try to do both, address some of our energy conservation, water, plumbing, building enveloping, improving some of that, as well as trying to find ways to generate a little bit of revenue. As we've talked about here, generating revenue as a school district is a pretty challenging task if you're looking for ways outside of asking a taxpayer to pay the burden. So Honeywell is one of those options to try to generate additional revenue.
All right, so what do you need now? A yay or a nay or something?
No, we're not voting on this.
Not voting, but...
we're not voting on this, but the way I'm reading the room, we would reach out and have PTMA give a more detailed presentation on what that bond would look like, and I would anticipate next month and probably voting on this.
Okay.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Now what?
All right, so both of these FOIAs have been resolved. They've been run through legal, just so the board is aware.
That's it. The next item is our consent agenda. May I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda as presented?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Roll call.
White? Yes. Brzezinski?
Yes.
Sorry. Figueroa?
Yes.
McCullough?
Yes.
Goodrich?
No. Whoops, abstain.
Lewis?
Yes. Motion passed. The next item is our school calendar for the 2026-27 school year. May I have a motion that the Board of Education approves the 2026 and 2027 school calendar as presented?
You looking for a motion?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give it.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just to confirm, the calendar, there was consultation with both the Wooddale and Bensonville in aligning this to the best extent possible.
Yes, there was, and I just actually saw both of them today. And we lined up really closely with Bensonville District 2, its start dates, break dates, and kind of when we end too. So it's more aligned than we've been in the last couple of years, actually.
Good news.
My question is not related to the dates on the calendar, but more so just like an operating process. During finals weeks, is there a prohibition on like practices and sports activities? Just personally, I know that finals week that just passed, my son had a final, and an hour later was in practice for hours without the ability to study for finals the next day. And I know other school districts say that during finals week there should not be that type of thing going on. So I'm wondering what's the policy?
You know, typically what we do is we have final exams, which ends up being like a half day, or we're done at 1 or something like that. And then there's a little bit of a break, and then we do usually allow athletic practices. The thinking being, if we have the athletic practices too late in the day, like let's say 3:30, 4 o'clock, then they would practice, let's say for 2.5 hours. Then there's less time to study, whereas if we can move it up a little bit, they would have more time to study. But there's no policy necessarily saying that you can't practice on final exam day. But I understand where you're coming from, and obviously the students have to juggle the two, with the priority being academics. But it's sort of a different question as far as that goes. From the actual school calendar, but that hopefully answers your question.
Roll call.
Goodrich,
Yes.
McCullough,
Yes.
Figueroa,
Yes.
Brzezinski,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes, motion passed. Next item is Honeywell solar panels and ESPC. May I have a motion that the Board of Education approves the Honeywell contract for solar panels and ESPC as presented?
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes. I've had great success personally with renewable energy. This is a great project for the future if our financial situation allows, but not today, not tomorrow, not next month, and not next year for Fenton High School District 100. Waiting 7.6 years to benefit from a capital outlay today of $2.1 million does not demonstrate financial stewardship of taxpayer dollars given our current financial projections. I appreciate the presentation, but it's important to acknowledge that the presenter's priorities are to enhance shareholder value for those owning Honeywell stock and not the needs of our local taxpayers. The presenters already left. They do not seem invested in the decision we are about to make now. I guess they are on to the next proposal. How many of you would be willing to take on $100,000 of home improvement loans with only one contractor offering a bid for work to be completed? No is the only way to vote on this matter.
Well, one of the presenters is still here. He didn't leave. And this is only the first step in 3 before we finally approve the whole thing. I don't think it hurts to see what our options are, because as I understand it, we can opt out at any point. And as we're all saying, we have to find ways to make more money. I would like to get more information to see if it's feasible. If it comes back as unfeasible, then I absolutely have no problem saying no, but we will never truly know, like he said in the presentation, until we actually see hard numbers. I'd like to at least go through the first step to see, is it truly feasible? I mean, I don't know. That's my opinion if we're having discussion. So that's my 2 cents on this.
Just remember that $2.1 million is for the cost of the project and doesn't include work that would need to be done to the roof and other infrastructure improvements to be able to host the panels, because the cost of removing the panels is so high that the roof has to be repaired and fixed so it has an extended warranty period before the panels go on. So I just don't think, given our financial projections, now is the time to be waiting 7.6 years to benefit from something that we're paying for today.
Roll call.
Figueroa,
Yes.
McCullough,
No.
Goodrich,
No.
Lewis,
Yes.
Radzinski,
Yes.
White.
Yes.
Motion passed. Does anyone have any committee reports?
Yes, we got the board policy meeting committee today, and we're gonna vote next month. Also, I was in a meeting at NASIC back in February 9th. We got, like any school, we got financial statements, school maintenance projects, like they got a new bin, and like every school, they're facing a challenge, financials. So nothing new, but NASIC is in a good operational moment.
We do have a LEND meeting on Friday morning, and Dr. White plans on joining the Zoom meeting along with myself, and we can give you a report next month.
Nothing on Bensonville Foundation. We'll have a meeting next month.
Nothing on board finance facility. I believe we'll have a committee meeting prior to next month's meeting. Could you run down the policy meeting earlier?
Yep, I did.
Give an update on it?
I did. We're
Okay,
gonna vote next
yeah.
month.
Okay, yeah.
I missed it on my back.
All right. The next scheduled Board of Education meeting is Wednesday, March 25th, 2026 at 7 p.m. following potential Finance Facility Committee meeting at 6 p.m.
Well, when you're done.
Yes, I am.
Okay. Well, I wanted to add to that.
New business.
What's that?
New business comment by Reed.
That as we get our hands around our budgeting issues and financial issues, that we actually create a list of actions and dollars to try to, actually get a workable document, at least to follow through on this somewhere in the neighborhood. I'm guessing they should show at least $500,000 worth of savings, and the more the better as we go into next year.
And so next board meeting, Reed, is where we come up with the certified staffing plan. So we're working on that right now. So we should report that out to the board. And with that in mind, we'll probably expand that a little bit to take a look at some other areas where we're looking for some cost savings moving forward, that so the board can kind of see where we're headed.
I think that'd be good.
I appreciate that very much, because tonight was a good illustration of seeing dollars flying out. We know we're in a little bit of trouble, but we haven't talked about retaining dollars. And I appreciate that, because I think there are some luxuries that have been discussed this evening that I don't think we're in a situation to be able to afford.
Okay, so then the next board meeting, we'll do that, and we'll expand on the cost-saving discussion as an agenda item.
May I have a motion and a second to go in to closed session for the following? 1, 5 Illinois CS 120/2C1. The appointment, employment, compensation, discipline, performance, or dismissal of specific employees of Fenton School District 100. 2, 5 Illinois CS 120/2C2. Collective negotiating matters between the public body and its employees or their representatives, or deliberations concerning salary schedules for one or more classes of employees. 3, 5 Illinois CS 120C9, student disciplinary cases. 4, 5 Illinois CS 120C10, the placement of individual students in special education programs and other matters relating to individual students. 5 Illinois CS 120/2C21, discussion of minutes of meetings lawfully closed under the Open Meetings Act, whether for purposes of approval by the body of the minutes or semi-annual review of the minutes as mandated by Section 2.06.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Can I get a roll call?
Goodrich,
Yeah.
Figueroa,
Yes.
Radzinski,
Yes.
White,
Yes.
McCullough,
Yes.
Lewis.
Yes, we're in closed session. There'll be no further action after closed session.
Go ahead.
Can I have a motion to open session?
Motion.
Second.
Roll call.
McCullough,
Here.
Miller, White, Goodrich.
Yes.
Radzinski. Lewis,
Yes.
Figueroa.
Yes.
Back in open session. May I have a motion and a second to adjourn? All in favor, say aye.
Hey, hey.
Abstain.